All right, guys. So here's our next example of how to graph. Chapter 12, part 8, section 8. Here's my equation. Okay, let's get started. First, we gotta find the 7 important items. Okay, amplitude, absolute value -4, which is 4. Okay, number 1, we found amplitude. Number 2, period. Period is how long does this graph take to finish? 2 pi divided by the number in front of the parentheses. Cosine 3 parentheses, right? So we want to divide by 3. So 2 pi over 3. Okay, that's my period, 2 pi over 3. If you want to convert that, that's fine. 2 pi over 3 is 120 degrees. Okay, same thing. So 120 or 2 pi over 3. Next, we have the increment. Remember that? Increment. That's very important for us. Increment is period divided by 4. So we're looking at 120 divided by 4, 30 degrees. Okay, next. Phase shift. Phase shift. Okay, does it shift left or right, basically? Okay, so to do the phase shift, you take the parentheses, theta plus pi over 4, and you set it equals 0, and you solve it. You know, just bring it over real quick. So theta equals negative pi over 4, or negative 45 degrees. Okay, so I know you guys like degrees rather radian, so we'll convert it, okay? So now we have what's called the middle. Okay, the middle. The middle is called the middle. It's also called the vertical shift. Same thing. Vertical shift. Middle, vertical shift, same. That's the number at the end. Okay, -7. Okay, that's my middle. My maximum. Maximum is going to be the mid plus amplitude. So -7 plus 4, -3. My maximum height would be -3. My minimum, mid minus the amp. So -7 minus 4. So -11. Remember, amplitude is 4, okay? Not -4. Amplitude is 4. We're going to add 4 to get the max. We're going to subtract 4 to get the minimum. Now we have everything we need to graph. Okay? Here we go. So let's see. Starting here, I know my graph is going to be these numbers here. So graph like this. My mid, my max, my minimum. So 1, 2, 3. That's going to be my max. That's -3. Okay, my middle is -4, -5, -6, -7. Okay. There you go. -7 is my middle. -8, 9, and 10, and 11. -11 is my minimum. There you go. Okay, so now we got to do some computations to get these points. Okay, so let's get some points going. Okay, so first I'm gonna start. We always start with the phase shift. Okay, so starting at -45 degrees, we always start at the phase shift. Okay, that's why it's important for us to find that. So we plug this in as our first angle. So y equals -4 cosine 3 -45 plus pi over 4 over there. Okay, so that's 45 minus 7. So that equals -4 cosine 3 -45 plus 45, 0, minus 7. -4 cosine 0 degrees, right? 3 times 0 is 0, minus 7. So what's the cosine of 0? -4 cosine 0 is 1. Okay, hopefully you're okay with that. This gives you -11. So I used negative 45 degrees, and my height was negative 11. So that's my point. Negative 45 degrees, negative 11. So here's my line. Negative 45, let's say, is right there. Negative 45 degrees. My height is negative 11. So here's negative 11. Make a dot. Okay, so there, we got 1 point down. We need at least 5. If we had 9, that would give us 2 graphs, 2 waves. The more, the better. So with negative 45, that's my first point. And now I'm going to use my increment. Negative 45, I'm going to add the increment of 30. And that gives us negative 15. That looks like a funny number, right? Negative 15 degrees. But when we plug it in, everything will be okay. So y equals negative 4 cosine 3 negative 15 plus 45 minus 7. So equals here negative 4 cosine 3. Now negative 15 plus 45 is 30. Okay, don't worry about that too much. 30 degrees is okay. But the thing is, we're going to do 3 times 30. See that 3? So negative 4 cosine 3 times 30, 90 degrees. See, it's always going to come out nice, beautiful numbers if you use the correct increment. Negative 4 cosine 90, you should know this, is 0. Minus 7, okay, is negative 7. So I used negative 15 degrees, and I got a height of negative 7. Okay? So hopefully you're okay with that. That means my next point will be negative 15 degrees. So about right here, negative 15 degrees. And my height is negative 7 right there. So it's going to be like that. Okay, I have 2 points. All right, I want to have at least 5 points. So let me fold this paper and get some more points going. Okay. So next, I'm going to use, my last point I used was negative 15. So I add the increment is 30, and I get 15 degrees. Again, this looks like a weird angle, but once we plug it in, things will be okay. Negative 4 cosine 3, 15 plus 45 degrees minus 7. Okay, so now negative 4 cosine 3. Now add these, you get 60 degrees minus 7. Negative 4 cosine 3 times 60, 180 degrees minus 7. Now remember, you have to know cosine 180 degrees. Cosine 180 degrees is negative 1 minus 7. Okay, negative 4 times negative 1 minus 7, negative 3. So I use 15 degrees, and I got a height of negative 3. That's my point. 15 degrees, negative 3. So here's negative 15, here's positive 15. 15 degrees, and my height was negative 3 right there. So I'm going to connect like that. Okay? Okay, let's do some more points. My last point is 15 degrees. I add the increment, and I get 45. Okay, let's plug that in. Y equals negative 4 cosine 3, 45 plus 45 minus 7. Negative 4 cosine 3. Okay, now 45 plus 45 is 90. We know that. Minus 7. Negative 4 cosine of 3 times 90. Cosine of 3 times 90 is 270 degrees. Minus 7. Negative 4. Now, times the cosine of 270, guys. Negative 4 cosine 270 is 0. Negative 4 times 0 minus 7. So that equals negative 7. 45 degrees give me a height of negative 7. Okay, so that's going to be my 4th point. At 45 degrees, my height was negative 7. So I'll connect the dots. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Okay, I need more than that. Okay, keep on going. I'm going to keep on going. 45 degrees. Add the increment 30, 75. So I'm going to use this number next, this angle. Y equals -4 cosine 375 plus 45 and -7. -4 cosine 3 times 75 plus 45, 120 -7. -4 cosine 3 times 120, 360 -7. Okay, so you can compute the cosine of 360, but cosine of 360 is exactly the same, right, as another angle. What angle is the same as 360? 360 is same as 0 degrees, so same thing, doesn't matter. Okay, so we get here -4 cosine of 0 or cosine of 360, same thing, is 1 -7. So -4 times 1 -7, -11. We plugged in 75 degrees and we got height of -11. Okay, that's my fifth point. 75 degrees, negative. Here's 75 degrees. And height was -11 down here. Okay, so when I connect them, there you go. I'm where I started at the very beginning. At the very beginning, I started at -11. I went up and up, down and down, and here I am at -11 again, and I'm done. This is officially my finishing point. Again, I can always do more points, no big deal. 75 plus 30, 105. Y equals -4 cosine 3 parentheses 105 plus 45 minus 7. -4 cosine 3, 105 plus 45, 150 minus 7. -4 cosine 450, right? 3 times 150 is 450 minus 7. Now 450 is kind of a big angle. So what you want to do is make sure you reduce that, okay? 450 is too big of an angle, so we can reduce it. Cosine, if you take away 360, is 90. Cosine of 450 is same thing as cosine 90. They're both the same value, but we want under 360, okay? So anytime your angle is above 360, just subtract. Take this, minus 360, you get 90. So now we should know the cosine of 90. -4, cosine 90 is 0. -4 times 0, minus 7 is -7. So at 105 degrees, my height was -7, and that's going to be my sixth point. Here's 75, here's 105. My height is -7, and I continue on forever, okay? Again, I'm done. This extra point is just if I wanted to continue more. If I continue more, I'm going to get this nice bit of wave that bounces between -3 and -11. Okay? Here's something interesting that I want you to understand. Okay? So, if you look at here, this angle is -45 degrees. And this is kind of like our beginning, the starting of our graph. And look where it led us to here, right? And look at here. This is where the graph starts repeating itself. And this angle is 75 degrees. Okay? So going from -45 and we stopped at 75. So if you look at that, the distance between -45 and 75, right, is 120 degrees. That's because it's the period. It took us 120 degrees to complete, and that's what we found up here for the period. -45 all the way to 75 is 120. So 75 minus -45 is 120. 120 is our period. That's always going to be like that. Period is how long the graph takes to finish or copy itself. Okay? I hope you understand that. Have a great day and try on your own.